Hey, hello. It is nice to nice to have you here. And just to say, like, we've never actually chatted before or like been introduced at all. It's Rhys, right? Ooh, that is. And where are you based? Cool. I'm in the UK. I'm in Scotland, where it is 8:40 in the evening. But being Scotland and so far north, it's actually still quite bright. So it's it's a time when parents the whole of Scotland struggle to put their children to bed because it's not dark out. But yeah. And you are the genius behind Ship Talkers. This is the problem when your side project gets like more focused than something like Answer Overflow, which is like arguably doing a lot more for the world. Exactly. So, ship talkers. I actually, I wanted to talk to you about this because I had a serious amount of. By the way, this is not what we're here to stream about. We're here to stream about um, TSPerf, and I really appreciate Rhys taking the time to evaluate it with me. But I do want to take the time to basically say, like the first time I loaded this thing and I logged in and I was like on on this list. I was like I'm here. I thought I'm one of the top contributors. I felt serious validation. And now there is a guy with 700,000 commits, which he, to be fair, made on one day back in like 2019, which does make me feel like maybe it isn't actually 700,000 commits, but I'm just saying, a very productive day, exactly. Sic Transit Gloria Mundi and all of that. I believe this though. Yeah. So, if people haven't seen it, this is very cool. It like, automatically fills in your Twitter handle from your GitHub bio, and then you can sort of find out like this percentage of time tweeting versus coding. I guess this is just in the last year. That it's not all time for me. Ah, did it start out at first? It was just the last year. Ah, does this not include private commits? Yeah, it should do. So like, this is probably not what this is meant to do. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I should like. So that's my contributions in the last year. So I should be a bit more than that. I think if you could just manually hard code it so that I'm higher up the leaderboard, that would be the main thing. But you also recently you have a co-founder finding service, which is powered by Clerk, I think. It has worked perfectly for me every other time I've clicked it. So I think it. I have no idea why it's not working right now. It's the curse of the live stream. It's going to happen to me in a moment with TSPerf tracer extension. So okay. Oh, I love the debugging. Yeah, let's. It's probably because I hit that reload button, wasn't it? That's probably what it was. Okay. And by the way, just saying hi to everyone. Daniel, Hacknug, Zaf, Larry's here as well, and Yannis. Great to hear you all. Now, I think I must have. What have I done? Let's try this. They couldn't hear you. Can they hear you now? Rhys, say something.
Here's a sentence that I'm going to say to see if people can hear me.
I think
Uh,
that should work. Come on, people, give me a thumbs up if that works. I think it was just me,
I can
not
keep saying the sentence.
yeah. Just speak.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I've got more
that's.
commits now. Okay, I feel
Oh, there we go.
happier now that I have more commits. All good, amazing. Well, it was a good thing we sorted that out, and still, I'm like honestly, I'm totally happy to be far below, uh, like some of these legends. Goodness me. But
There's some that I believe, some that are a little suspicious. I'll have to
exactly,
look why it's not funny.
I I
Co-founded
believe I
the
believe
Sullivan.
levels basically commits every time he saves the file, which is a
Yeah,
legitimate thing. I believe Sibelius, I think, seems plausible. Taylor obviously must be that. That must be the case. But yes, a Frake must be that. That's just power plays. Okay,
my my favorite is the tweet sent because that one's a lot harder to game.
yeah, that's
Like
true.
and
Over a
that
million.
one's concerning.
How is that? Is that possible? How is
I don't
that?
want to believe that it is possible.
Okay, so they have 10,000 followers and they have tweeted over a million times.
It also includes retweets. I think.
Ah, but still, that those tweets have to date from before the API was
Yeah, that's a
cracked
lot.
down, right? Dante Lex, that's impressive because that's a real person. Like, if he's tweeted that many times, he jolly well has. That's impressive too.
My favorite are the like non-influencers. Like Dax and Theo had a bunch, which makes sense.
Hmm.
But then there's like I think it was like Ken Wheeler beat out Dax and Theo for tweet sent.
Yeah,
And to my knowledge, he's not an influencer. He's just a guy sending a lot of tweets, which
yeah.
good for him.
Oh, I think Ken Wheeler is a bit of a
Yeah,
legend. Um,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So basically, the reason this whole thing kicked off. Well, the whole thing kicked off in a way some time ago. So Alexandra Shikara and I created this TSPerf concept after a conversation at a conference because this has been something that's been on my mind for quite some time. To basically, uh, it's I guess anyone who's done much work with TypeScript, like we all face the same problems in that um, we have this niggling concept that the cool stuff we're doing with types that makes our end users' lives better might also slow down their IDE and their type checking because we know it does obviously to some extent. And sometimes there are foot guns you can hit, like fall into. Do you fall into a foot gun? Like I don't know, you fall into something else like a pit. But there are things you can do that make things much worse or much better. And so we thought we should do something. And we made a start, but never actually got to the point of publishing it. And then someone remembered that on Twitter and uh, basically said something, said, "Hey, it would be great if we had this." And someone said, "Do you know there was actually something that already started?" I think Alexander and I had talked to David about the project, and he had some amazing ideas and has done some amazing things as well with Archetype, and also a testing tool for Archetype, which I think is now available for more people to use. And he did us the kindness to tag us in it. And in the meantime, the folk at Algora basically created this, which I think is incredible. Like actually having a prize, and more than anything else, it got me and Larry off of our sort of ivory towers and actually started coding some stuff, which was really amazing and really cool. So we've built something. It's very much a work in progress. We basically combined forces because we both took different approaches and we thought they were probably quite compatible to do at the same time. So, probably the most painful thing for me is if you just install it and I don't demo it, and like that's probably going to be the most painful thing because anyway, what do you think? Is that a reasonable thing to do? You can,
We can go for that if you
yeah.
want.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to attempt this, this. Let's see. Okay, is this going live? Great. Hopefully folk can see your screen.
Yeah, let me increase the size of things as well.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Okay.
So so I'm good to,
Yeah, this is it. This
okay.
is a couple of
So,
commits behind the current
mhm.
state, but I didn't want to release a new version immediately before a live stream demoing it because that felt to me like that would
Yeah, it's
be
bold.
asking for something to go wrong. But basically, there are another two versions ready to go. One the
Okay,
current
cool.
state of the main branch, and another Larry has a branch which is actually very cool, which I think he demoed earlier. But yes, so the type complexity tracer is enabled. Now, hopefully, you should see something at the very bottom of your IDE, which next to the live share button, that will let you
Yep,
run a trace on your project.
great.
And
Does
so
that do the whole project?
okay, so there are
Yeah.
two things that will happen. Two different things. So one that I built initially and one that Larry built initially.
Hmm.
So the one that I built is basically an as you code kind of thing, where you'll basically see some metrics in your IDE, and you can see that if you go to problems,
Yeah.
you should. Okay, I see you're seeing some. Yeah, yeah. Oh, try going to a TypeScript file like a utils.ts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, should I give
Okay, it
the
might.
window a reload as well?
So yeah, you can give that a go. So there are two things that will happen. So one is we get metrics for lines of code in the file that you have open that
Hmm.
are taking longer than other lines of code to have their types. Um,
Okay,
so that's the thing is though that's uh, sometimes there's nothing to display, sometimes there's something to display, and it depends a
great.
lot on your code, and it also takes a little moment for the server to pull it out. Now I often use something called error lens, which is great at displaying this kind of metric. It
Yeah,
might be
I
worth
can get that
installing that as an
installed.
extension. Yeah, I think maybe the top one. And that will show you when stuff is being highlighted. Now I think you have, yeah. So I don't think there's anything being highlighted in that particular file. There's one
Okay,
more
let
thing
me
that we
pull
can
up.
do.
Yep.
It's also a bit tricky because yeah, the spell checking is showing up
Does it
as
does it work in repos? Because I could also open up Answer Overflow, that one's a bit more complex. Uh,
it. It should work in this.
okay.
I'm
Let me open up this get data.
It's good.
Um,
The other thing that would be great if you did is if you could
yep.
run the trace command.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
There's a error running trace. Bring
Okay,
up the output.
interesting.
And then this is my,
That's the command that you can run manually. And the reason we run
okay,
that manually so you can see what the error might be. Like, do you
gotcha.
need to install some dependencies or anything? I guess probably not.
I don't think so. Just want to reinstall quickly. I must
And
bring
there
up the
is a type
output of
complexity
it.
tracer output channel that you can have a look at.
Yeah. So here's the output channel. Updated benchmarks. Open this file. I'm on Windows also. Does that impact anything, you think?
Well, I mean, I'm on Mac. Larry's on Windows though, I think.
Okay.
So I think we have got the bases covered there.
I'm not
But
seeing
yeah,
any errors in the. Yep.
interesting. Okay,
That's
let's
up to you.
try. If you open the, yeah, let's try opening the trace viewer. If you run your command
Sure.
uh, and type tracer open trace viewer, this is what it's going to look like
Hmm.
when you have something to have a look at. You can click that search button, and you would be able to um, search through some of the data if you have a
Okay.
source file to look into. But let's try rerunning the trace now that it's open. Let's just see what
Yeah.
happens if you click it again. It's not
This error,
okay. It's
error running trace.
it's
Well,
not
this
even.
is up there.
Oh, I wonder if it's because you have your repo is on a different drive from your app data. This may be something we need to look into.
Oh, interesting. I can, here, let me move it over. Um, I'll move it over to my C drive. Benefit of live streaming is otherwise you wouldn't find any errors.
uh, Hollow laugh, that's for sure.
Okay, I'm just cloning it to my C drive now.
But the strange thing is that you're not seeing any of um, the metrics either, which is implemented in a totally different way and doesn't rely on storage in the disk.
Okay.
So um, we could try one other thing while you're moving it across. So we have a
Yeah.
preview version of the extension that is released as well, and you can try that. So if you search for Tracer on the apps on the extension store again,
Yeah.
you can disable this one and enable the next one down there.
Cool. Look at the window. Get the window reload as well after I did it.
Yeah.
Oh, spawn node. Okay, give the window a reload. Seeing an error down at the bottom saying extensions, typepod TS, trace viewer.
Yeah, I think you can ignore that.
Okay,
That's for the that's interesting as well. But that's basically because it may be the wrong extension to test. This is
let's see. So in, I can open up the one to C drive now. I'll swap over to
okay.
that one.
Yeah, let's give that a go. And yeah,
Okay, so that's installing. And let me open up. See. It should be done installing in a second. There it goes.
oh, did you install it in the workspace? No, in the
To make sure I have it. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And I can keep running the trace a try now. I'll bring up the trace viewer as well.
okay. That's a little bit more promising because it's still running that little circular loader is still running. And if you want to see what's happening, you could also look in the in the output channel.
Trace start, save names, project open, save open.
So for larger projects, running the whole trace will be more time consuming. So it's basically the same as
Right.
running a TypeScript build. And I think we even have the option of running it multiple times to compare the trace times across one against the other. So the idea of
That's
this
nice.
part, which really Larry's the expert on, is the idea that this is a sort of static analysis and pretty reliable in terms of measuring your types. The other one,
That's
which
great.
isn't displaying at all for you, is the sort of live metrics of how long every completion within a file takes for your server to calculate. And so it's a base. It's not an absolute thing. It's about seeing what is taking more time than other things in the file. And it is immediate and live as you're making changes. But it's pretty bewildering me that you're not seeing it at all. Um, I wonder if it's some kind of
What would the TypeScript version impact it?
shouldn't do. So
Okay,
because the one that shows the metrics in IDE is using the built-in TypeScript that your IDE is using to get the metrics. So we should be able
gotcha.
to do that, and it doesn't care about a lot of stuff. Um, Even so, initially I built it to get like to create a TypeScript server and a
Mhm.
TypeScript application and run that against your code, but basically figured out that it was possible to do with the built-in IDE TypeScript. Um,
Okay.
and so it really should be. What is your TypeScript? What's your VS Code version?
Uh,
Should be good as well. How weird.
yeah.
So this
Hmm.
is totally weird. Would you mind restarting your VS Code and we'll
Yeah.
try
Let
this
me
and
give it like a
we'll
full
revert
clip.
back to the previous extension, the published one.
Let me get that one enabled and then I'll restart. Enable, disable, and then restart. And then I'm gonna just give VS Code like a full force quit. Okay, third time's the charm.
Let's hope so.
Okay, got the trace viewer up.
Okay.
Um,
Let's
zoom in a little bit.
let's use the command. And let's.
Yep. So we
I
can do the yeah.
and the only thing I can think about is maybe if it is a Windows thing, maybe it's something to do with WSL or not. Like maybe we're like the thing that we're constantly plagued by. I don't know about you, but in like building a build tool like Nuxt, we often
Mhm.
find that the node path implementation and the path implementation in other scenarios like in rollup might be very different. So it's very possible that what we are doing is we're like comparing like a path, and so we're displaying like the open file metrics, but we're not accounting for the fact that maybe there's a backslash versus a forward slash. That's the only
Right.
thing I can think of because I have no idea why this isn't, it literally isn't displaying. But yes, we can try it again. So if you run the TypeScript trace one more time.
Yep. Error running trace.
How weird.
This is running up down.
I think that's just an optimistic state.
I see. Yeah, it's all.
Okay. Um,
Do you have that on a oh yeah.
okay. This may be something we need to look into. If it's not working on straight windows, then that is basically a big problem. Um, how about I show you what it looks like when not running on Windows, and we'll figure out
Yeah.
what's going on with
Uh,
Windows later. Because I'm so sorry. This is a terrible first experience, and I was hoping to
oh
get
no
all
worries.
kinds of good like metric like ideas from you. But anyway, this is not the way to do it. So I'm sorry about that. Ooh, where did you go?
I turned
Yeah,
turned the stream off. I'm watching yours now.
perfect. And I will disappear. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. So this is this is ShipTalkers. So I cloned it in advance, um, just in case, and I'm very glad that I did. And let's see, I think I have the tracer installed. Let's see, I have both, and I have this one enabled in this workspace. And so I'll just reload so we get this sort of experience of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And yes, people in chat are like, it works on Windows for me, but on WSL. So maybe that is the thing. So this is ShipTalkers, and so we have the same thing at the bottom, this trace, and we can see the trace viewer there. And I could, let's see, open a file like this one. Oh, and you see immediately that we have these little blue lines here. So it's telling
Oh,
me,
that looks great.
this, you're very kind. It looks better than when it doesn't display at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically telling us a little bit about the time it takes for these bits to be checked. So I'll run a fresh trace, and we can then open that trace viewer. Oh, it's open, and you can see the data here. So this we want to make a lot nicer, but right now this is
I see.
visualizing the JSON data that TypeScript gives us, which is it has a lot of information about the complexity of each bit that it's each file and the things within the file
Mhm.
that it's checking. And so you can go directly to them if you want to, and see, for example, this one's taking a little bit longer, so that's taking 2 milliseconds. And we have some settings in terms of how much we display, because we have metrics on everything. And I would love your thoughts in terms of what would be useful, for example, for you. So we can obviously customize like what TypeScript path and so on we use, but we also have the sort of thresholds on whether to show or not show diagnostics. So for example, at this point, we only show info here, and we don't display diagnostics for warnings and errors. And you see the same is true for these others. We could change that round if we wanted to. We also have like thresholds for relative, so we try and measure it against other bits of code in your app. So we have some configurability, but there may be other things that you might want to see or not see in the app. So if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah. That makes sense. Was it kind of challenging finding that balance of like figuring out when to? It sounds like it was challenging figuring out when to display a warning and like when to display the information, since there isn't like a baseline for it, right?
So yeah, for sure it's challenging. Um, I think so it's easier for the inline data, because we
Mhm.
can just say like across this file, how long does it take, and we can display stuff that is um, significantly a certain percentage above or below that, or mostly above that. So here you can see we are displaying like this is 136% more, this
Right.
gRPC React provider, than anything else in this file. And so if you're looking at a file and trying to figure out what is slow about it, this is going to basically highlight the lines of code, like the bits where there's some type complexity. And that's probably here because it's the query client creation, I would
Mhm.
guess. And here probably because it's calculating this create
Right. It's
client.
doing the TRPC routes.
Um, so, but I mean, we could do this in any bit of the app. So we could like open uh, this page, for example, and see maybe there's nothing in there that is of particular complexity. We could
Right.
try something else. I would expect this one might have something in a second. Oh, we're running. Or
Yeah, I mean that's great to see because I think getting that instant feedback when you introduce a type that is going to slow down the whole editor is going to be really helpful for keeping projects in a good state with their TypeScript server. Should be super nice. And then also being able to run it in like continuous integration is going to be super cool. Almost having like lighthouse scores be editor performance.
yeah, if we could have something that is able to run that and actually have a look, basically take the same kind of like relative score, and give you something to see. I mean, so it's possible to get something like that in Lighthouse at the moment. So, for
Mhm.
example, I think there's one GitHub action that I'm using in my in one of my libraries, which is maybe no, this one, performance, which is basically this TSC diagnostics diff, which is this one. But it would be nice, but this basically just gives you sort of visibility into some of the depth. And actually, it
Right.
would be really nice to have something which is a little bit more actionable. So that looks something like this, I think. This diff should be almost nothing because it's only a change in the checkout action. And so
Oh,
you see that
interesting. Yeah.
there's very little change. But these are useful metrics that are coming from TypeScript. Um,
Right.
but it would be interesting to see what we can do in terms of improving that.
Right. That doesn't really give you like the drill down that you're kind of looking for where to improve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly. Um,
Cool.
cool. The tracer extension itself is uh, heavily work in progress, as you might guess. But it's got a number of interesting bits to it. So we've got the sort of the bit that shows you um, the trace, and Larry has something that's working that's looking really nice on that. So do you want to see?
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay. There's this trace over here. PR. So there's a different, it looks different because it's a different profile. So you can see a lot of the same things that we've seen in terms of the metrics, except this is not, doesn't have error lens in this profile. So it's just displaying them via hover like that.
Right.
And again, this is what I would have expected you might be able to see if it had worked on Windows, which is that you would see the data showing up in the problems tab down there. And when you run that trace, or down here, I guess, as well, you then get additional metrics. And obviously this is a very simplistic example. But this is the different UI that I was talking about, which is the main thing I wanted to show you. So like the UI here is now drilling down into each file with a metric for you. So you can see the total time is 37 milliseconds. And then if you want to see what's taking time within that, you could. Now, this is obviously very fast. It's a single file, but we could open the same kind of thing in your app. Let's see if I can do that. Open folder. What is the shortcut for opening a folder on macOS? I need to get it from the temp directory. Maybe just the hard drive. No. Rats.
I'm not sure. I recently got a Mac, and swapping over to all the hotkey changes has been very painful.
Yeah. Let's see if this is going to work for me. Okay. Great. So this is ShipTalkers. I'm guessing that stuff's installed. Yeah. So this should look a little bit different, but we can do the same thing that we did before if that extension is installed. It's not. I need to debug in a slightly different way. We're going to open great. So now I can do exactly what I was doing a moment ago. So again, we should get some metric data. This is your repo, and this is like a clean TypeScript version, clean VS Code. And we can then run a trace, which I expect is going to take some time, but no, it's maybe not. So we've got our trace coming through. So you see the different milliseconds of the different bits of your app. So I think we'll probably enable it to sort it. Currently it's timestamp, but duration is probably what we want. Interestingly, the UI scroll area seems to be taking a lot of type complexity. And it's particularly this import from Redux UI React scroll area that's doing that for you. We can have a look at some of the what makes that up, but we could also go directly to the file and have a look at it there. So in here, what is this? Okay, this is just telling me some metrics on the different bits of this, but probably going to want to see this with the trace viewer. So I'm seeing there's just a huge number of this structured type related to expression, which is just running. I think that's what's making it take so long. And that's all in relation to, let's see. probably hide some of this. That's all in relation to line 7, okay? Which is, interestingly, okay, that's actually just the React forward ref. Maybe because we're doing the type of scroll area primitive root. Is that possible? I don't think you probably have a choice there, but but basically I wonder if something is this scroll area. So basically, if I were to swap that out and say any, what's that going to do to my trace time? So I just reran the trace, and it's still taking a lot of times. It's not that particular statement. I think you can see how this might get addictive. Oh, I didn't save it. I do need to save it.
It's so nice that you're able to just drill down on that specific area. Like previously, um, in the on-Flow repository, I had a bunch of like extends on solid types, which was dragging down the TypeScript server performance, but I didn't know for sure that that's what was causing it. And so it was kind of just like throwing a dart blindfolded to figure out if that was the cause or not. So being able to drill down really specifically is great.
Yeah, well, that's very nice of you to say. Obviously, yeah, I'm really embarrassed that it didn't work on Windows. Like, I feel so bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just my system that's having an issue. I'm not sure.
I think it must be Windows related. That it must be, because I can't imagine. So the way that and the only thing, I mean, Larry's on Windows. That's the one thing that would have given me sort of greater confidence. But
I'll give it another try on my Mac as well and see if it bugs on there.
I would love that if you are able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would love some feedback as well. If I know I've got you for you've been very generous with your time, but like, if you have any time to give thoughts on the UI or the way it could be used, or how you could see yourself using it, if you could, I would love that.
Yeah, I think there's like two big ways that I see myself using it. One is as I'm developing, getting like a kind of real-time alert that, hey, this union that you just did, or this import that you just used, it's gonna drag down your TypeScript server and like maybe find an alternate approach, maybe rethink it a little bit. And that's really helpful because it's catching it in the same way that ESLint in your editor does. Like, you don't have to wait to run ESLint. You just see it at the same time. And then along with that, I see a ton of potential for it in like continuous integration. Where, as someone puts up a PR and you review it, and like we saw with that comment that you had for the one repository, it shows you that breakdown. It shows you that breakdown of kind of the diagnostic differences. But in this case, it would be kind of timing differences, possible IntelliSense difference, which is really interesting. See other things for the trace viewer. It's a little overwhelming at the moment looking at it. If you're able to pull that back up, it's it seems super great because there's a lot that you can dive into, right? But then when I take a look at like if you expand on the check expression again, um, there's that like structured type related to. And for me, that's interesting because there's so like it happens so much, right? And so I'm like kind of tempted to like, okay, like maybe I dive into that and figure out what that is. Um, and so I could maybe see that being a little bit of like a red herring almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or yeah, there's like it's nice that there's so much information, but I think it's a little hard to get actionable information from it at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but being able to see the files is super nice. And then are you able to like control click go to the file if like for the UI?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, great.
So that's
That's nice
the
detail.
scroll area, but like we could zoom in on another one. So that one is so long, I think, because it is so complex. Some
Right.
of the others, for example, the DB, I think it's just
Mhm.
has it's got two check expressions, and then you sort of dive into and much more quickly find out what it's related to. In this case, it's a sort of Zod type
I see.
flowing
Okay.
up, which is basically giving us that 93 milliseconds. So we could go there,
Mhm.
and I think we could see that's coming from 3 milliseconds. Okay, this is no, this is that really coming from Zod? Interesting. 94
If
milliseconds coming from
you
MySQL
if you go
2.
back to the trace viewer, is that the
Yeah.
right
DB
index for
index 2.
okay. Yeah.
But maybe it's being
Mine
it's no, is this env? It's the env.
Oh, that's coming from the environment variable file.
So yeah, so
Right. And that
basically
uses Zod for validating them.
that is what it is. So I bet if we did
Right.
process.env, then that is suddenly going to be which is obviously less type safe.
Mhm.
But I bet if we did that, I'll probably have to save it.
Would you also need to remove the import, or would that not impact it?
It's a good question.
Guess we'll find out.
We still have that env file on its own. I guess it's
Mhm.
processed somewhere else.
Yeah, it's using it in other
But I
places.
think the DB has dropped out. This server DB thing it's
Very interesting.
isn't up there anymore. So like if we whereas I think if we pull that back and recheck, I think we'll see, yeah, server DB index is now right at the
So
top.
that's 100 milliseconds for the
Yeah.
DB, and kind of using that to figure out like what that means, right? Is that saying that for bringing up IntelliSense on that, it can take up to like 100 milliseconds to load?
That is saying, well, I know it's saying that in order to, so the other metric
Hmm.
was more like the inline one. If I reload the window, we might
Yep.
get the inline metric. Um, the inline metric is less exact. Yeah, it's saying 5 milliseconds, 9 milliseconds. So that is basically 18 milliseconds, 4 milliseconds. Like it's basically this file is quite heavy because of what it's importing. So everything is
Interesting.
basically at about that level, and you can see some like the differences. This is all IntelliSense. This is how much
Right.
time does it take IntelliSense to get the information about that location for you. So this may or may not be that, like this is more to do with like what a user is experiencing, like what you in this thing are experiencing. It doesn't take you 100 milliseconds to get information about this DB.
Right.
Like it's nine milliseconds. That is what you're actually experiencing in your IDE. Whereas the
Okay, that makes
TypeScript
sense.
trace viewer is like if you were building this as an app, how much time is
Mhm.
TypeScript going to take to check the types, which is, I think, a pretty fair measure of complexity, but like not all of that would necessarily be exposed to your end user. So for example, here like how much of the type of the env database URL is going to be exposed through the exported database. That's the only thing that's exposed to an end user. I guess none of this is
Right. And
actually a
so
library, but
what I'm thinking is if that if I like let's say that we found that the env.database URL was taking like 50 seconds, 50 milliseconds to load in the IntelliSense, um, then we're finding that like I see a lot of potential there where if we found that that took a while to load in IntelliSense and then that was impacting the DB usage throughout the whole rest of the application,
yeah.
since that's a pretty core part of it. So that's a really interesting application of it.
Yeah, I think Larry makes the comment in chat that it's about building your own intuition,
Right.
which I guess, which is exactly what you're saying as well. So like, I think yeah, yeah. I hope this is
Yeah,
helpful for that.
I think it's really great. I think at the moment, like, there's not a like currently we don't have the tool. Like, but before this, nothing was really surfaced back in the editor about complexity, about time, etc. And so you don't really get that sense of intuition with like what the best practices are. And so this is really nice since that kind of helps enforce that.
Interesting. So looking at total types, I think this env as well is relevant.
Mhm.
Which I mean, again, it's Zod heavy and it's validating your environment, so that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, that is a very helpful feedback. All of that. I thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll play around with it a little bit more on my Mac and see if I can get work on that one. I'm sorry that it didn't work on my Windows machine. I'm not sure what happened.
It's not your fault at all. No, no, no. I'll totally own that one. But I do hope I'll persuade you to give it a try another time. And
Yeah, yeah, it seems really great. I I love what you guys have built. It's really awesome.
thank you. That's really nice. Um, great. Well, I think that's probably a good time to draw things to a close. Um, unless you want to dive deeper into ship talkers and find out who my ideal co-founder would be.
I'm not sure what's happening with your ship talkers. Yeah, let me
Is
give
it
it
still doing it?
let me give it one more try.
Oh, it's found someone.
There we go.
Okay. Well, obviously I know what I
Do
have to do
you
now, so
do you have any idea who this person is?
I don't actually.
That was the big problem with the matching is it gives you a great match because if you go back to their profile on Ship Talkers, you'll see what do you have? You have 45,305 commits, right? And he has 45,500 tweets. Like it's basically one to one for the tweets to commits,
That's
but no one knows who they get matched with. Like, no one knows who the person is.
I guess
Um,
that's partly because the like the matching algorithm is like optimizing for people who are different from you. So
right,
like
yeah.
like it makes sense.
If you scroll down a little bit, you're able to put in like another person like you
Oh,
can try matching yourself with like Theo, and you can also
Santosh.
try
I would accept a match with Santosh. That would totally be. Look at this, Jeremy. Okay, I'm happy with these. Wasim, yes, please. And there's someone underneath you.
yeah. So I tried to make sure it surfaces a few more people that you might actually know. Um, yeah,
That's really cool. Okay.
yeah. The matching was a nice little follow up. I I'm not sure if I want to do more with ship talkers. There's like more ideas like running in my head. Do you know Get Pilled?
Yes,
Um,
I have heard of it. Or I think I
okay.
saw it.
So the code for this one is all open source. And what I was thinking I could do is go through all of the GitHubs that have been put into ship talkers
Hmm.
and show a breakdown of tweets sent and commits made by language,
Yeah,
um, to figure out which language, commits the most, which language tweets the most. That could be fun.
that would be very interesting. Absolutely. And like build little ecosystems, little sort of in the Svelte ecosystem, in the Vue ecosystem, in the React, like
Yeah.
who's tweeting, who's building. Because you've
Yep.
got the info from GitHub. That would be a really cool idea. But like,
I think I think I'm gonna revive it every 3 weeks or so with another little another little uh feature. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing whatever's next though.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. It was great. It was great seeing this.
Like, well, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's yeah, let's do this again another time.
Great. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
And thank you everyone for joining. That was so much, well, so embarrassing on the one level to have an extension that didn't quite work on Windows, but hopefully we'll get there. Thank you for joining and supporting us. And yeah, I'll see you again not too far in the future when I do some more streaming. It was, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, talk to you later. Have a nice day or evening or wherever you are. But yeah, see you later.